Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Faerie Conclave. This is episode 117. I'm your host, Alec. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm super excited to be joined by an extra special guest. It's Z. How are you doing today, Z?
I am doing so good.
Yay. Yeah, I'm excited. I love bringing somebody on to talk about their favorite deck in the morning, and I just have my little coffee with me, and I'm so glad that you're here today.
I also have my coffee with me this morning, and I'm dragging a little bit behind. I was up very late partying on Friday Night Magic for Nick's Please birthday. So we definitely need this cup in my hand right now.
Honestly, that's the perfect Friday night. Like, staying up late playing Magic is just chef's kiss.
Oh, it was beautiful. My heart is so full from last night, and so many memories were made. And it's just like we had 3 pods going at any given time. It was beautiful.
That's so fun. I love it. Okay, so for people out there who might not know you, could you introduce yourself a little bit more and what your involvement is in the Magic community?
Oh, yes. Hi. Hello. I am ZMainCharacter. I go by Z in the MTG sphere. You might have seen a couple of my little funny short videos pop up on social media, anywhere from Instagram to TikTok to Twitter to now Blue Sky. To get on Blue Sky. I love that place. And I am just a silly little guy that loves Magic the Gathering. I have been making Magic the Gathering content for goodness, I think we're at year 3 at this point. And I enjoy making very short, funny Magic the Gathering content just to get a good laugh for people to be like, oh my God, I identify with that. I have so much fun with this one thing, and like send it to their friends. Because like sending memes is a love language for me. Yes. And like I love being the catalyst for that, for just like certain or like play groups and people who enjoy playing Magic the Gathering together. I am also a cosplayer for Magic the Gathering. I cosplayed as Massacre Girl. Believe it or not, that was only my second self-made cosplay. And my first one was Daihata. And I didn't even know how to sew when I made Daihata, or when I started with Daihata.
Okay, that's incredible. Wow. I never would have guessed that when I saw it.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. Two things that I'm thinking about. I love the TikTok audios that you use for some of your videos. I'm just like, there's no way this could be used in a Magic context, and then you just use it in the most clever way, and I always am smiling about that. I love those so much.
Yeah, that is my pride and joy, is using very, like, there's no way this can be used for Magic audios. Like, I search like a hound for those kind of things.
So good. Yeah, I love those so much. And then, okay, this is actually inspirational that you did not know how to sew before that, because the last couple weeks I've been teaching myself how to sew for my first cosplay.
Yes!
And it's so hard.
Oh my goodness. It is. I lose my mind. It's just like there's so many cosplay competitions that like I love seeing what the results are and whatever. And like almost every single time somebody goes, well, it's just sewing. And I'm like, oh, excuse me?
Yeah, I will admit, as I was kind of planning this out, I think I'll probably keep it a little bit of a secret publicly what the cosplay is going to be, but there's like a part of it that it has nothing to do with sewing that I'm really excited about. Like, I have this cool idea for. And so like talking to my partner about it, I'm like, oh yeah, and the pants and like the top, I can just sew that together. Like, that'll be the easiest part. And they were like, I don't know about that. Maybe you should start on that first. And I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then ended up, it took me an entire 5-hour afternoon, like watching YouTube videos just to figure out how to thread the sewing machine. So
yes, it is. Oh my gosh. That was why, like, some might remember this, but like I was trying to figure out how to thread my sewing machine, and it took me forever. And when I finally did, I immediately got on Twitter and I'm like, I just threaded my first sewing machine. It's so over for you all because it was such a momentous occasion for me to just figure that out. But just, oh my God, sewing pants. That's still something that I need to learn how to do. But it's like, I love hearing people just sending it for getting into cosplay because like that's all you can do. That's all you can do. I have so many people that reach out to me. They're like, hey, how'd you get started? I'm like, literally, I got some scrap pieces of fabric. I was lucky enough that my aunt like didn't want her sewing machine anymore. It's a pretty janky one. And I just was just like, today I'm going to learn how to make a tank top. And the very first time I decided to, of course, after you like just try sewing 2 pieces of fabric together is always the first step. Like no point, no direction or anything. I'm just like, okay, finally I'm going to make a tank top. I was just like, oh my God, I'm sewing these edges. It's looking okay. It's not straight, but it's going so great. And then when I pulled the fabric out, I'm like, excellent. I'm going to go ahead and try this on to realize I had sewn the entire thing. I sewed the armholes, I sewed the neck hole, and I sewed the bottom. So I made a pillow I couldn't even stuff. Like it was a mess.
So good. It is. There is something a little bit like it's very satisfying once you actually get going. So I totally understand. You're like, time to do all the edges. Just keep going.
Exactly. I'm like, I can do this. This is great. And then you get humbled, and you need to get humbled.
Oh, I've been so. I thought I would have. I thought I would have a whole pair of pants perfectly fitted and a shirt by now, and I'm not even close. But it's like a really fun learning experience to try to learn this new skill.
Yeah, it's very easy to get obsessive over it.
Yes. Yep. That's kind of where I'm at. So, okay, I love that. I'm glad we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so I have you on today to interview you about one of your favorite decks. I am so hyped about this one. Before we get into the interview questions that I have for you, I always shout out one of my patrons at the Conclave Mentor patron level. So today's episode is dedicated to Lee. Lee, thank you so much for being a patron. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah. Sweet. Okay. So my first question for you, Z, is please introduce us to your deck. Who is the commander and what inspired you to build it in the first place?
Oh, yes. So people will probably be expecting me to say Grist. And I do love her. I love my buggy little girl. But unfortunately, the crown has been stolen by Aminatou Veil Piercer.
Ooh.
And this, when she came out, I was like, ain't no way you just gave me the perfect commander.
Yes.
So she is, gosh, I'm already like so excited. Esper, one of the best 3-color pairings out there, aside from Mardu. I love my Mardu. But even better, Esper Enchantments and Esper Miracle. With, it doesn't stop there, top deck manipulation.
Ooh, so good.
Top deck manipulation, I never knew how good it feels. It makes me feel like I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's like almost like a finance expert. When I'm just like, oh, yeah, I knew what was going to be up there. And like forging my own miracles, essentially, is delicious. So it's such a good feeling.
Yeah, even just like any commander that adds a scry or a surveil on your upkeep, it's just like every game is going to feel so good. And surveil 2, that's so fun.
So good. And it's just like when I saw how much she could do, it was just immediate inspiration, especially with enchantments. I am a huge sucker and lover for enchantments. Like in any enchantment synergy, enchantments can do so much, almost anything and everything, and can be. The only issue with enchantments is getting them to be reactive sometimes, and like Aminatou solves that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it that way, but it's true. Enchantments are the like number one permanent type that you play on your turn and nothing happens, and then you like, pass.
Exactly. You're like, well, I sure hope I get to live the next turn in order to get this enchantment to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
Nice.
usually they're just annoying enough to make you a target, and you're like, well, shucks.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, one of my favorite kind of archetypes that I like to play is sagas. I played a bunch of saga decks over the years, and it's very similar. Like, you play it, and those ones solve it a little bit by giving you an effect when they enter, but usually it's something small, like you're excited about the end of the saga, not the start of it. So very similar. I'm like, I've spent 7 mana on this and like tapped 2 things on my opponent's board, and now I have to wait. But I love them too. They're still, I still play them.
Yeah, it's very hard to get rid of enchantment decks afterwards because you have so much faith in them and their ability to get to like that last bin. It's just like I have built and deconstructed so many decks, but somehow, some way, my enchantment decks always stay on the shelf.
Yeah, and I think Aminatou is it's like such a fun color combination too, because I think without green you lose a lot of the card draw, like enchantressy stuff from enchantments, but for this deck it doesn't really care that much. Like, Aminatou gives you that already.
I felt the same way about that when I saw green. I'm like, okay, she got humbled by not having green in her until I saw what was in the Duskmourn set.
Ooh.
And the Duskmourn set gives you 2 new cards for not only enchantments entering and drawing, but also rooms unlocking at the same time, which is oh so delicious.
Yeah, let's get into that because I'm definitely super biased about Duskmourn. I love it so much. It's my favorite set of the year. Okay, yes, okay, perfect.
Yeah, same.
And I mean, I've been a horror movie person for my entire life. I was also an ambassador for the set, so I'm like definitely a little bit biased there, but I just loved it so much. And I played a lot of the precons like against each other, precon pods for this set. And Aminatou definitely was the one that felt like it did the most stuff and was the scariest, the fastest, at least in my experience.
Yeah, I also got treated to being able to play a couple of precon pods, and like Aminatou always kept up with the table.
Yeah.
The Valgavoth almost got me a couple of times, but somehow, some way, like Aminatou pulled through. I'm a little biased on this set as well. I got to spoil the very, very first card of the set, which was the Special Treatment Wanderer card.
Oh yeah.
And then Wizards spoiled me even more by giving me 2 more cards to spoil, which was I'm forgetting the mono green one, unfortunately. But the other one was Gremlin Tamer.
Oh yeah.
And I remember seeing Gremlin Tamer and being like, oh, this can get out of hand.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I need to see what else is in this set because this silly little card can just do silly little things. And then once the rest of the set came out, like I was not disappointed. I was raised in what I like to call a spooky household. And so my mother was a lover for like gore and horror and ghost stories and things like that. And like all of my favorite childhood memories are around Halloween because my family were also a bunch of just builders and crafters and mechanics. We would build animatronics. We would build entire walls. My brother learned how to do coding for lighting and fog effects and sound. And so we transform our very old house and their driveway into an entire Halloween haunt that you can actually walk through with actors.
No way.
Yes,
that's
way.
incredible.
And I was mostly in charge with costuming, which luckily translated a lot with cosplay, but I never ever sewed anything. It was mostly like go to Goodwill and see what we can manage to dredge up together and spray paint.
Yeah.
And so it's just like when Duskmourn came out, I'm like, oh, here we go. Yes, please.
That's incredible. You are like, I see videos of people around Halloween who set up their houses to be haunted houses. And I'm always just like, I need a neighbor like that. I want that so bad.
Yeah. We would have to start setting up in August to get it all up.
Wow. That's incredible.
It was a lot.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm obsessed with that. I want to see some pictures later because that's amazing.
I'll dredge those up.
I love it. Yeah, I definitely did not grow up in a horror movie house. Like, sometimes the fight scenes in Lord of the Rings were a little bit too violent for that household. So I didn't really get into horror until I was a teenager. And then, like, my friends and I would go see horror movies all the time because we thought it was hilarious to be, like, scared and screaming in public.
Yeah.
And I just, so I mostly, like, as an adult, I've gone back and watched, like, tried to watch all the classic horror movies, which some of which still hold up to this day. But yeah, it's been great. Like, my Letterboxd has just been full of horror movies the last few years, and I love it so much.
I do enjoy like spooky horror media quite a bit. A little bit more American Horror Story-esque for me, because ironically enough, I get scared very easily.
Yes.
I get scared so easily, up to the point where it's just like, I remember seeing the new It, and I couldn't sleep that night.
Yeah.
And some people are like, it wasn't that scary. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I mean, I've seen like Bill Skarsgård's face, and it's always scary.
Yes.
He like makes the Pennywise face in interviews and stuff. Terrifying.
The eyeballs going either direction gets me. I'm just like, okay, we are in the danger zone here.
Yep, I totally understand this. Okay, so speaking of Duskmourn and Aminatou, so I think you mentioned some of the support that enchantments got in non-green colors, and I wanted to take a second to shout out Entity Tracker, which is just 10 out of 10. Would you like to read off what that one does?
Absolutely. So Entity Tracker is 2 and a blue, creature human scout, with flash, and eerie, which is whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, you draw a card. And you get a 2/3 out of it. Like, you get a pretty big butt on top of everything.
Amazing.
It's so good. And I love copying it.
Ooh, okay. I have not been able to do that yet, but I think that's incredible.
Yeah, there is. Not only did this set give us like means, well, obviously there's like copy enchantment and things like that, but this set also has a room that does, if a triggered ability of a permanent you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Seriously, enchantments just ate so well in this set. It's almost upsetting.
It's really true. And speaking of rooms, I think they are so cool. The fact that, speaking of enchantments eating, like, all of these very strong enchantment rooms are just 2 enchantments put together. And so they're already like twice as strong as a normal enchantment. But yeah, and then the fact that there are other cards in the set that like reduce the cost of unlocking your rooms or make it free even. It's, so good.
I cannot get enough of rooms. Like, my next big deck to build is the 5-color room enchantment commander, because I love them so much. I think they're such a incredible design win, and a reasonable one at that as well. Because, like, yes, you have like an early game and a late play game in one card, but it's not like you could just copy it and like free unlock the other room for like 2 mana or anything like that. Like, they did a pretty good job at keeping them fairly reasonable, but also gives people enough time to see the threat coming as well.
Yeah, I think the design is really well done. It's just like one of those things that, like one of those mechanics that comes along that's just like, I can't believe that this hasn't happened before, because it's like so simple. It just works very intuitively. And so one thing is they do have some kind of like caps on the power when it comes to like, you copy it and you still have to pay to unlock the rooms. But kind of like other split cards, the mana value of them is like the 2 halves combined. So I have a deck, it's the ancient one. You like mill yourself, and it cares about discarding cards that have high mana values. So I put a couple of rooms in there that have like 9, 10, 11 mana value for these rooms. And that just feels so good. So
yeah.
Shout out to that. But yeah, the design, incredible. And that's funny you mentioned the 5-color Marina Vendrell commander, because I've also been brewing that deck. So maybe we'll need to have a follow-up on that.
I gladly, because I have not built a 5-color commander yet, and like she is the one where I'm just like, it's time. It is. Yeah. This is it.
Yeah, just unlocking rooms for free feels so good.
It is obnoxious and it's great.
Yep. And that's the thing is, I think the effects on all of the rooms are just like a little bit overcosted mana-wise. But either unlocking them for free gets around that, or what Aminatou does is miracle them reduced by 4 generic mana, and that just like solves that problem and then some.
Yeah, it's delicious being like, I'm gonna tap 2 white, and now all creatures I control have base power and toughness each equal to the number of creatures I control. Like, hey, how are you?
And it's game over. That's so good.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so my next question for you is, what is this deck's history? And I know this commander has only been out for a little while, so I'm curious if you've had any changes since you like first got it that you've made.
Yes, actually. So I first played it as just the precon, and then immediately became obsessed. And what I have really enjoyed doing with the set, if I do get a box and I do get precons, is that I will try out all the precons. I will select a precon, and then I'll upgrade that precon with only cards from the set that it came from. And it's a lot of fun. You immediately start using the cards that you pull rather than just having an entire mountain of bulk.
Yeah.
And so it feels really fun and really good. And like I also fully avoid like doing EDH rec or anything like that. And like it's just me and the cards in my Zen space building together and seeing what we can do. And it was a lot. The answer is, what could we do? A lot. Even with just upgraded cards from the set or from taking from the other precons of the set, she was pretty mean.
Yeah.
She was strong, she was reactive, and she could build a board state or recover from a board state so quickly. Now, granted, I did pull expropriate from the set.
Ooh.
So that was that was great. And it's just like the feeling of they already have one with the multiverse in the set, which is crazy. So one with the multiverse into expropriate is pretty crazy.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. And then it's also just had so many silly ways of ending the game with like Shark Typhoon, or if you've managed to get enough synergy with Soaring Lightbringer, which is a big troublemaker card as well. And I'm still just talking about pieces that just came into the precon. Like this deck still has a decent amount of precon cards in it for being upgraded from there. So I did the upgrade. I played, I think, like 10 times with her with in-set upgrades. And then I'm just like, I think it's time to make this like my mean deck. Like like we are throwing hands at the table kind of deck.
Totally.
Because I like saw into the universe with her. I'm just like in all the possibilities. Because like Aminatou can really be, I wouldn't necessarily say you can make Aminatou weak. It's just that card draw and that pay advantage and everything is just too good to ever be a weak deck. But you can certainly make her into a reasonable, like well-oiled machine, or just a war cannon, as you please.
Yeah, that is the thing about Aminatou is you've got like card selection and mana reduction, which are kind of, those are like the two big things that every commander deck needs. So just having them on your commander all the time you're right, the kind of power floor is still going to be pretty high. But I do like that they are a little situational, like you have to deal with the miracle mechanic.
Yeah.
Although usually that doesn't, it's not too hard to get around that.
No.
Yeah, and it is true. I think they, based on the design of the precon, they did kind of lean into the meanness a little bit for this deck. One card that I fear when I play against this precon is Fear of Sleep Paralysis.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
It's too much. Okay, it's 5 and a blue for a 6/6 flying nightmare creature, enchantment creature, which means you can get this out for 2 mana with your commander.
Yep.
And then it has Eerie. Whenever Fear of Sleep Paralysis or another enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, tap up to 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it. That's already very good. And then stun counters can't be removed from permanents your opponents control. I tore apart our precon pod with this card, and now it's just like a kill on sight in that meta, and I think that is so funny.
It is definitely one of the cards that survived the cuts for this deck. Like it's staying here.
Yeah.
Because first off, I love my flyers. My flyers make me very happy. And it is just like one of the weakness that this deck has is responding to like really big tramplers. So being able to be like, well, for 2, how about you don't have it anymore? You can look at it. It's pretty. It's nice. I love what you did with it. Good job. It's just going to sit there.
Yeah, it's brutal too, because you could easily play this for 2 and then play another enchantment the same turn and get 2 stun counters out there. And then unlock a room and get some more out there, and then they just are getting hit by a 6/6 flyer until they can figure out a way to get out of it.
Yeah, I love when they think they have you on like their upkeep or anything like that. If you have Aminatou out, I didn't know this when I first played Aminatou, that Miracle is an instant speed trigger.
Oh yes.
And so, like, if any of you have been wondering, it's like, oh, they have Miracle, like, that sounds powerful. No, it's dumb.
Yeah.
it's straight up, it is straight up silly. So, like, if you have any form to draw a card on somebody else's turn, you just get to cast that enchantment right then and there.
I also,
if you have the mana open.
Yeah, I also learned this while I was playing this precon. And I remember exactly the moment I was playing on Spell Table, and I was like, oh, I just drew the perfect card for the situation, but it's Miracle is sorcery speed, so I can't play it. And somebody was like, it's not, actually. You can just play anything. You can cast it when you draw it for Miracle. I was like, and it changed everything. So, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that moment for me is actually captured on one of Kuro Hitsuki's streams.
Oh, nice.
They do a brilliant job of doing gameplay live. It's so much fun.
Yes.
And I remember Kuro being like, "Oh my God, yeah, what did you draw? Are you gonna cast it right now?" I'm just like, I can't. Like, it's at sorcery speed. And Kuro's like, no, you can. And like, I just straight up screamed, like, you can what?
Yeah, it just seems too strong, but
yeah,
it's real. Oh man, yeah, that's really good. I think that some of these enchantments too have effects that get so wild when you can play them in response to things. It's so good. I love it.
It's delicious. It's like a lot of the times people will think they'll have you on the back foot, and you'd be like, no, we can do something about this.
Yeah, actually, this isn't a normal enchantment deck. Which goes back to what you said earlier about enchantment decks not being reactive normally. So it's surprising to people playing against this deck. They're like, it's an enchantment deck, but it can actually be reactive, and it's not just, only playing stuff on your turn and then passing.
Yeah, it's a lot of the times people will feel like they can kind of stuff you after removing 1 or 2 enchantments, but like this just keeps going. And with all the new like enchantment support in Duskmourn, I've actually won this game before without ever casting Aminatou.
Wow. Okay.
Which is very silly, because it's like you obviously want to not just rely on Aminatou for top deck manipulation. So you end up building a deck that can kind of sustain itself because you can mull through and look and plan and scheme before she even hits the board.
Okay, I really like that about this deck. And yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it's really easy for commanders that have card draw and mana ramp like built in to become super central and like you have to have the commander out or the deck doesn't function. So yeah, I really like that you built this deck in a way so that Aminatou just like adds to it and it can actually function without needing your commander, because Aminatou would probably get killed by your opponents.
Yes.
Pretty frequently.
Yeah. Pretty fast. I think she's been removed the most 5 times from a game.
Yeah.
And I had to like pitch her to the graveyard because I managed to have like return X creature to the battlefield at that point, just to manage to like get her out one more time. It wasn't worth it. I should have just believed in the deck.
I like it though, and it shows like resilience, which I think is an important part of building a cohesive deck.
Yeah, I've definitely built a couple of like feast or famine sort of decks where it's just like, if you can manage to get this one thing to stick, like, boy, are you eating good? But if it gets removed, like, it's out, and it feels bad. I also feel like I'm failing the table in a way by being so feast or famine, because I can't interact with any other threats, and it feels adjacent to king making at that point. So I love decks that can self-sustain without like certain key pieces. And this deck has routinely like proven, because it surprises me on how it wins still to this day. And I've played this deck. I know it just came out, but I've probably played it around like 30 or 40 times. Every now and then I'm like, we can do this. We can win like this. So it's just like so many of these pieces will always do something together. Like, it's like I don't really ever draw a card and be like, well, shucks, that sucks.
Yeah, and I think that's an important part of keeping a deck that you want to play long term, is having that variety built in so that it feels like it's different every time you play it. That's just gonna, like, you're gonna keep coming back to it, and clearly you already have if you played it that much.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was just sitting there, I'm like, I can't stop.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to see everything this deck can possibly do. It is so much fun.
Ooh, and that's the best too, when you find a deck like that. You're just like, this is my deck for the next forever.
Yeah, you get so lost in it, and it's just so much fun.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of like gameplay aspects of this deck. Is there more that you'd like to talk about when it comes to the goals that you have? Like maybe the first few turns of the game, what are you thinking about when you're playing it?
First few turns of the game, I have 2 options with this deck. Either I need to turbo churn out at least 6 color and mana. And the only way to really do that is if I manage to like Soul Ring Arcane Signet. Or if I have, plenty of lands and plenty of top deck manipulation to ensure that I'm getting to at least 5 mana. Or I need a hand that has low-cost creatures that synergize with enchantment ETBs. From there, I know I can make something happen. Because either, with getting the mana fixed and going, I can get Aminatou out and I can start getting things onto the board that I shouldn't. Or I can pace getting a go wide kind of strategy. If I get like Gremlin Tamer or Inquisitive Glimmer out into the battlefield, or Entity Tracker, because then at that point I have other cheap enchantments that will inevitably get into my hands for me to go ahead and start getting a bunch of stupid gremlins or a bunch of card draw. Or Fate Unraveler is one of my favorite ones because people get pinged for their card draw. And then typically from there, I can like copy it, or I can double its triggers or anything like that. Like it will get there, so long as I keep to one of those 2 things. So either cheap cost things out first, or we are getting to the color fixing.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense. I think the precon struggles a little bit with getting the mana needed to cast Aminatou early, which is those are kind of the only times it hasn't been the scariest deck in the precon pod, is when Aminatou just doesn't get out early enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that makes sense. Trying to get your mana set up so that you can play her, or go another direction and play some of these enchantment support cards. So what would you say are this deck's weaknesses?
Ooh, let me think about that, because this deck has definitely bounced back from a lot of abuse from the table pretty easily. One of the weaknesses is that it can get away from you pretty quickly. And you can end up having a lot of things on the board that don't quite get you there. And then so you're sitting there and you're keeping track of all these crazy triggers that are happening and things are going on, and it doesn't quite kill the rest of the table. So if you can't see a line, you can get lost pretty quickly. And I have, in fact, accidentally infinite combo myself out of the game.
Oh.
A couple of times, which is really funny.
Yeah.
It's just, if that's how I gotta go, then all right, at least I did something. And then, of course, if you did not get key pieces onto the board that'll help you with card draw or anything like that, Aminatou's out, you're just sitting there with really big, expensive cards that you cannot play.
Totally. The coolest part about this deck is that cost reduction by 4, which incentivizes you to play these enchantments that cost at least 4 generic mana, so like 4, 5, 6. But yeah, I can totally see if you get like 3 or 4 of those in your hand before your kind of like engine is going and you can't play them, you're like, stop, I don't want these yet.
Yeah. I wanted to go with like just solely really big stuff, and then I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, okay, but that's very feast or famine kind of things. And so it's just like you do have to kind of like tame yourself a little bit on it and not get too carried away, unfortunately.
Makes sense. It like holds you accountable a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to get into some of the specific cards in the deck. Are there any notable cards that you'd like to shout out that have like specific purposes that you feel like are perfect in this deck?
Oh, it's hard for me to really pin down a single one because this deck can go down multiple different paths to victory. So it's just like you really can just kind of get through the deck to figure out what it's going to do to take out the table. I know that the MVP of this deck is one with a multiverse.
Okay, yes.
So getting that out for just 2 generic mana and 2 blue, so getting out for just 4, is insane. And then like your top deck manipulation from there is so spot on, and it finally unlocks you from just your enchantment synergy. So you can go into, Aminatou's Augury or Terminus if you have to, or Redress Fate if you have to. So your sorceries and instances and all your other creatures now become unlocked for that mana cheating. That card will never leave this deck.
Yeah, it's just it works with Aminatou so perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. There's also there's a couple of infinite combos that take a bit to get there. There's a dangerous infinite combo that will result in a draw, so you actually need to have removal in your hand if you want to remove your own stuff if you want to go ahead and go that direction. So Gremlin Tamer is a part of that infinite combo. Whenever enchantment you control enters, whenever you fully unlock a room, create a 1/1 red gremlin creature token. It is not a May ability.
Oh.
And so if you get out an enchantment that makes everything an enchantment that enters, your gremlins that are entering are enchantments, and it goes and goes and goes and goes and goes.
I see. And I like that.
Very ridiculous. Yeah. It does seem very flavorful for the deck.
Yeah.
It's a whole spout of gremlins coming out and nobody wins. So there isn't a single card that I can necessarily pin down, and that is what makes me love this deck so much. I guess like another card that I love pointing out is the brand new Ancient Seller Spawn.
Ooh, yes.
Ancient Seller Spawn is a glorious card. I am forever deeply surprised that is only 3 mana. Enchantment creature horror. That is each spell you cast. That's a demon, horror, nightmare. Costs 1 less to cast. Yeah, that's cool. That's great. It's the next part that's even better. Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana spent to cast it was less than its mana value, target opponent loses life equal to the difference.
Oh.
And so, of course, with Aminatou, you're able to sit there pinging at people if you're not able to attack, which typically, if I'm going that route of just like, okay, we're playing big bad enchantments, I maybe have one or two little blockers that most definitely cannot swing at that point. And this will solve that problem, especially since I have like a multitude of copying this creature, or its triggers, so that every single time I do play enchantment, instead of having to choose who gets the damage, everybody will.
Yeah, I was definitely gonna shout out Ancient Cellar Spawn if you didn't, because
yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I've built demon decks in the past. I built horror decks in the past. But it also fits into random decks. Like I have a Rakdos Lord of Riots deck that cheats on mana costs, so then it just deals tons of damage to people from that too. And then this one's perfect here. You're just like, every time you miracle something, you hit somebody for 4, if not more, if it's like being reduced for being a nightmare, demon, or horror. Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
It's delicious.
Delicious. And I'm glad we haven't really talked about, but you've mentioned a few times that it sounds like a kind of a sub goal of this deck is making copies of your impactful enchantments. Along those lines, I really like the inclusion of this card that I don't think I've ever really seen before. It's Muster the Departed.
Oh.
2 and a white for an enchantment that when it enters, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. And then it has Morbid at the beginning of your end step. If a creature died this turn, populate.
Yes.
So now I'm just imagining you making a copy of like Fear of Sleep Paralysis every turn, or like trading in your gremlins for more Demon of Fate's designs or something. And I really like that.
Yeah, this is definitely a card that whenever I play it, people are like, you could have put something cooler in there. I'm like, just wait. Just hold on. It's happening. And then there's like a copy of Ancient Cellar Spawn, because like I could typically copy it with Mirror Maid or something else. I'm definitely going to end up putting more copy stuff in here, or Extravagant Replication if that's out on the battlefield, or Owendu Spirit Dancer. Like there are multiple ways to copy something in here. So it's just like, it's really like, get 1 or 2 enchantments that you can do some sort of synergy with and copy it from there. There was a game where I had 3 Fate Unravelers and I had 3 double triggers on it. So everybody was losing so much life on their card draw. I'm like, I didn't know it could do that. All right. Cool.
Yes.
Or also like Polluted Bonds. I can, with Zur the Internal Schemer. I love this wicked little guy. So it is a legendary creature for Esper with flying, and enchantment creatures you control have Death Touch, Lifelink, and Hexproof. But at instant speed for 1 and a white, target non-or enchantment you control becomes a creature in addition to its other types and has base power and basic toughness, each equal to its mana value.
Ooh, that's cool.
So I can turn enchantment into a creature, because a lot of these copy effects unfortunately only target a creature, and copy that.
Nice.
And get double triggers into it. And as I said, sometimes this deck either has a million tokens or absolutely no creatures on the battlefield. So I can turn my one with the multiverse into a giant 8/8.
Which will do it sometimes. In some of these enchantments I have huge mana values that just randomly getting a bunch of 6/6s, 7/7s, 8/8s out, that'll do it.
It's beautiful just hitting somebody with a big ol' enchantment that they or like a Smothering Tithe. Like it feels poetic in a way.
Yeah, it's like, how can I make Smothering Tithe even more annoying for you?
Yeah.
Well, now it attacks you. So good. I love the copy sub theme too, because I feel like it really supports the kind of like multiple directions this deck has. Like if you are going the ping direction with Fate Unraveler, you can make more copies of that so that you can do that a little bit better. Or like Entity Tracker, if you're doing like trying to draw cards and miracle stuff with Aminatou, like make copies of Entity Tracker. So yeah, it's really cool.
Thank you. I love this deck. I love this deck so much.
Me too, honestly. I'm like, now I'm wanting to play my precon again. Ooh.
Yes. Precon tables are also some of the best. It makes me genuinely happy.
It's so fun. Yeah, and I hadn't followed up on this point you had earlier, but I really like your method of deciding which decks to like invest in, where you start with the precon and then put in cards that are just from the set that you might also like already have laying around. And then if you still like it after playing that, then you put in like you get other cards to put into it.
Yes.
I really like that way of approaching that quite a lot, because then you're not like spending a couple $100 getting cards for a deck that you end up not really liking after you play it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I very much found that if you cannot enjoy a deck at its lower power level, you don't deserve it at its high power. Like,
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely been bitten a couple of times where I'm just like, oh my God, this looks like so much fun. Let me go get all those cards. And then I'm like, oh, this isn't doing it for me.
Totally.
And like, I will forever encourage people, please play more precons. Borrow your friends' precons, try them out, because they will show you so much of what you actually enjoy in Magic the Gathering. And at that point, you really feel like the thrill and the joy of bringing that element in Magic to a higher level and investing in it, because you have already found your joy with it.
Totally.
And so like I am a precon lover, precon believer. At this point, I've upgraded so many precons because they have shown me what I actually enjoy in this game. Sincerely, like my quality of life with Magic the Gathering, so to say, has gone up ever since going the path of precons. And it's just like, yeah, I can play my friends' decks that they've built, but it almost gives a little bit of a illusion if you enjoyed it, because like if you want to build your own, there is no guarantee that it's going to repeat into the same thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with this. And this is kind of a lesson that I did not learn until very recently. I had not gotten a precon since like 2019 or 2020. Like I just hadn't gotten precons. I was only getting like singles out of them or other stuff like that until Duskmourn, which to be fair, like Wizards sent me the precons, so thank you very much, Wizards, for that. I very, very much appreciate that. But now I've been like totally convinced, because I loved playing the precons so much. And similar to you with Aminatou, the winter precon was the one that just like really spoke to me and did at the precon level, it just did everything I want to be doing in a game of Commander. What I did was very similar. I kept the precon together kind of because I needed to at the time for content purposes. And I just built a second winter deck with cards from the main set. So like I built an upgraded one, so I had two. I played that one a bunch of times, and then I ended up upgrading it with other cards outside of Duskmourn. And it's very similar to this. It's just been like every other game, I just want to play that winter deck because I love it so much. And I wouldn't have known if I hadn't played just the precons against each other.
Yeah, I would love to see more precon pods on like Friday Night Magics or for like LGSs to have precons for people to try out. Because the other thing about like playing precon pods is that when you have a deck and it has its things that it wants to do, to really experience what it's trying to do, you need to be at the same power level as everyone else. Otherwise, it's very easy to assume, oh, this thing just isn't good in Magic. If you get blown out, a couple of times trying to play that deck. So precons really let you get to like sit and bask in what a deck can do, what it's trying to do, while also witnessing the same thing in other people at your table. And it's a lot of feel goods, and it's a lot of like being able to be fully submerged and engaged with Magic the Gathering.
Totally. Yeah, and one thing I really liked as well was I had to put 0 mental energy into like building the deck. Yeah. I literally just opened it and sleeved it and sat down and I was ready to go, which like I love building decks so much, but I definitely, the first like 5 games with a deck, sometimes they just won't be fun because like the proportions aren't quite right. I just haven't figured this deck out yet. But with most precons, and especially the Duskmourn ones, like you could sit down and it's already going to have like done that for you. So you can just kind of know that you'll most likely have a solid experience and the deck will do the stuff it wants to do.
Yes, I completely agree with that as well, because when I re-entered Magic the Gathering, I'm like, I'm going to try my grit at building decks, and like, boy howdy was I really bad at it. Like, I didn't use EDH rec at all or anything, but also like my mind gets so split in trying to make the deck do a couple of things, because I get a little bit of like scared. I'm just like, oh well, if it only does one thing, like it's not going to work well. And there's not necessarily a very good line to victory, so I'm just dirtling about. So it's just like precons, and like, goodness gracious, have the precons this year been really good and feel really good, are just like such a treat to really get the flavor and taste of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, and not to add on to this, because people out there, like, we're trying to convince you to play precons more. But one thing that my playgroup has is, like, every person in my playgroup, and I feel like this is pretty common, just has a wide variety of power levels. So I was playing my winter precon, like just fully precon, no upgrades at all, with my playgroup against 3 decks that they had all built, but they were like playing their decks that they had built to purposefully be around precon power level, which isn't that low. Like, precons are strong now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I found those games to be really fun as well. So I think that these, like, you should just have precons. And I know I'm just like, I didn't have to pay for those ones, so I'm definitely biased here. But in moving forward, knowing how much fun I had playing these precons the last few months, I'm totally sold. Like, I'm back in precon world now. So
yeah, it's definitely, precons are how I often approach a lot of new players. I will typically start them off with the Lathril precon. And I have probably bought that precon like 12, 15 times.
Oh, wow.
At this point, to then give to either my friends or my friend who's trying to get another friend into Magic the Gathering. And if they're not quite ready to, like, really invest in yet, I'm just like, just take this, be free, kind of thing. Because Lathril is, I wouldn't say necessarily like incredibly easy to play. Like, mono green Stompies is very easy to play. Lathril has a little bit more nuance that will help you teach them about, okay, graveyard can be important. It's not over for your cards when they go in the graveyard. There's some things that could go on. It's pretty crazy. And help them really like see kind of like what Magic can do. And now I have a feeling with Aminatou, it will probably follow the legacy of me buying Lathril multiple times whenever said friend who's just getting into Magic is ready to see what else Magic can do. So it's just like, I've been blessed and incredibly lucky with the precons that Wizard has sent me. And I believe in them so much that I put in my own money to bring them to other people. Or oftentimes, like, if a precon has sat for far too long on my shelf, I will give it to a new player and just be like, just try it. And if it doesn't work for you, pass it on to the next person.
That's awesome. Okay, I really like that. And I think it's a good idea to have a couple precons in mind that are good for, like, that are the best for new players. Because some of them do get really complicated. And I'm like, oh, this is great for me and I'm loving it, but maybe not for somebody who's brand new. And to add on to that a little bit more, I taught one of my friends how to play Commander and Magic for the first time, and he played the Valgavoth precon, which, and so I think it is pretty complicated for a new player, but for a new person, and this is kind of for like board games in general, the first thing you want to teach them is, how do you win in this game? And so saying like, and we were just playing 1v1. So I was like, okay, we both start at 40 life. You win by getting my life total to 0. And the Valgavoth precon, every card in that deck is like, deal this damage to your opponent, deal this damage to your opponent's creatures. So that just like clicked for him, which I think makes that precon actually pretty good one for new players, because it's just all about doing damage, which is the first thing that you learn you need to be doing. So yeah, I really liked that experience too.
Yeah, I completely agree. Valgavoth is definitely another deck that I'll be bringing for like new players where I'm like, all right, it's time to learn about aggro. It's
Yeah.
time to learn about hurting people.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and it was kind of funny because we played like 4 or 5 games, and he was playing the Valgavoth deck, and I played other precons, but then I also played my own decks. And he won every single game because, because it was 1v1. And he was like, "Are you going easy on me? Like, you don't have to pretend and go easy on me." And I was like, "No, I'm actually trying." It's just
No,
your deck.
This deck hurts.
So good. Nice. Okay, so back to your Aminatou deck. Do you have any pet cards in this deck that you would like to shout out?
Oh my goodness. I so I am at this point, Gremlin Tamer is kind of my pet card.
Yes.
I mean, I know that she's good. I knew that she was going to be a little crazy. I just didn't know how crazy she was going to be. And I just think she's just so I mean, getting card draw with enchantment ETBs is a theme that we've already seen happen before, but getting silly token generation is just it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny for me to be like, hey, I have two little beaters on the board. Suddenly, hey, I have 43 gremlins on the board.
It truly adds
it
up.
It makes me so happy. Yes, it makes me so happy.
That's so good. Okay, I want not to get like too sidetracked again, but a long time ago, this was after the Kaladesh sets came out, so probably 2017. I made a post on Reddit where I wrote an entire article about the history of gremlins in Magic. And
what?
and it was like mildly popular at the time, but and I thought it was cool because they brought gremlins back for Kaladesh, and they are like these silly little guys that like eat the ether.
Yeah.
But before that, there were some cards in the 90s that referenced gremlins, kind of more like the movies type of gremlins vibes.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and so there's some really silly
that.
art from like 1997 of gremlins on a couple Magic cards. And so I like wrote an article about how funny that is. And I should update it honestly, because we got no gremlins at all. I think we got a couple. I'm probably the only person in the world that pays attention to this specific creature type. We got a couple like commander cards that were Kaladesh themed that either made gremlin tokens or had gremlins in the art until Duskmourn, and now it's like back to the original 90s Magic, like gremlins horror movie type of gremlins. So I love that this card Gremlin Tamer is like the pet card that you've got for this deck.
Yeah, I love that movie. So when I saw and like the little gremlins that they have in here they are definitely a whisper towards that movie for sure. And I was just like, oh, this is too cute.
It's too cute. And it's true, like that's why I love Eerie so much as a mechanic. Whenever your enchantment enters, so it's not like limited to enchantments you cast. So like when you make copies, it'll trigger this.
Yeah.
And then when you unlock a room, it triggers this. It just feels like everything you do already triggers Gremlin Tamer, and I am obsessed.
Yeah. It makes me so happy, and if somebody is wise enough to remove it from the board, I do get very sad.
That's fair. But if they do, it's like you just removed my 2-mana 2/2, so it could have been something scarier.
Yeah. That's also, in that sense, I do also like having diversion cards where I'm just like, oh yeah, you probably want to shoot that. It's so scary. Actually, here's this other terrifying thing.
Yep. So, okay, tell me about a favorite in-game moment that you've had while you were playing this deck.
Oh, it was definitely on Kuro's stream. Everybody was still alive, but I was absolutely popping off. I did happen to have Omniscience on the board, and like I was running out of card draw, so it's just like Omniscience is only as good as your card draw. And I did have like Gremlin Tamer out, so I was making a ridiculous amount of creatures on the board. I had Spirit Ghost Dancers, I believe is the name, is it? No, Ghostly Dancers is the name of the card. So I was making a bunch of flyers, a bunch of tokens, a bunch of silly things. But of course, they all have summoning sickness. And so, like, while I was like building an army, there was nothing that I can do. All I had on the board at that point was Gremlin Tamer, I believe, Inquisitive Glimmer, and then a one with the multiverse on the board. So I only had three things, two creatures, one thing that had entered previously. And I'm like, oh my god, like I don't think I can get any of you guys. I think I'm dead, because they were definitely coming for me next turn, and they had ways to get around or like get my life total down. But then I managed to get Porcelain Gallery out, which is creatures you control have base power and toughness, each equal to the number of creatures you control. Making Gremlin Tamer and Inquisitive Glimmer into like 43s at that point. We slammed down Archetype of Imagination, which gave everything flying. And then Zerv was on the battlefield, so I was able to animate my one with the multiverse to finally deal the killing blow to all three players at that point. So it was hilarious seeing me panic dig and like get the benefit of free casting and not getting there, for me to be able to just, like a person in like a fit, throw one of my enchantments at somebody's face for the win.
That's so good.
It made me so very happy.
Yeah, who needs a giant army of flying creature tokens when you can just have a Porcelain Gallery, make them give your like three creatures or two or three creatures that don't have summoning sickness 43 power and toughness.
Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah, I think Dollmaker's Shop and Porcelain Gallery is just going to be one of those cards that will low-key be the new Craterhoof Behemoth someday.
Yes. Yeah. White did not need that, but here we are.
But it feels so good.
It does feel so good. I do have like a Mardu little guy's deck, and so that it is going in there. It is absolutely going in there.
I love that. Nice. Thank you for sharing that story. I think that is... It always feels good when you are the scary one, but you're like, oh, I can't quite get there. And then you just barely manage to like cobble together the things you need to get there.
Yeah. I love having a deck that is just like, you can have big, like powerful cards, but I don't like them being necessarily game ending unless you're all like, okay, we are in the high power. So I appreciate it when people still have to either work for it or there's a chance to interact with it.
Yeah, makes sense. Nice. Wow. Thank you so much for letting me ask you a whole bunch of questions about your Aminatou deck. This was so much fun.
Well, thank you for having me. I love talking about Magic so much.
Me too. It's the best. It does so much for me.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one final question for you as we wrap things up, and that is, what advice would you give to players out there who are interested in building this deck?
This is going to be a little bit of an odd piece of advice, but understand this deck is just going to be powerful. It can do so much. So this most definitely is and almost never will be like a lower power deck. It could definitely dirtle. That's for sure. If you choose to opt out of like, of course, like Smothering Tithe and things like that. But there at this point is so much support for Aminatou, and your card advantage and mana cheating. It's just too good to be under the illusion that it's anything but a good deck.
Honestly, that's something that you just wouldn't know about a deck until you had played it a lot. So yeah, I think that's really valuable advice for people who are looking at this deck and thinking about building it. Having an idea beforehand of like what the power level is going to be, kind of like regardless of how you build it, is very valuable advice from somebody who has played it a lot already.
Yeah. And it's just like, I mean, there's a reason that she's being played as a CEDH commander. Not very popular yet, but people are making it happen.
Totally. And every set has at least one busted high mana value enchantment, which
Yeah.
Aminatou loves. So nice. I love it. Well, Z, thank you so much for coming out and letting me ask you a whole bunch of questions. This was so much fun.
Yeah, I had a great time. And it's just like, anytime you want to talk about enchantments, just I'm your person for that. I love enchantments so much.
That's so good. No, it's important to have a specialty, and I think clearly we know what your specialty is.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing it with me.
Of course, thank you for giving me the opportunity to.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. So, okay, so if anybody out there wants to find you and follow your content, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on TikTok, on Instagram, maybe not Twitter, pending the future.
Yep.
Blue Sky, and soon YouTube. I need to get that going. All under the handle ZMainCharacter.
Sweet. And I'll have links to those in the episode description to make it super easy. Yeah, go follow Z. Check out this deck list too. And buy some more precons. I think that's
buy some more precons. That's the moral of the story here. Buy some more precons.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I always do a shout out at the end of every episode for all of my patrons at the All That Glitters level, and that is Jeff. Jeff, thank you so much for being a patron. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye-bye.